That recording already?
What did Joe Rogan say, bro? Go ahead.
Nah. What do you mean? Why'd you start it off like
You
that?
just gotta go, bro. Go ahead.
So no episode number, no nothing. Just keep going.
Nah, we stopped that episode a long time
Oh,
ago.
okay. That is true. So basically, how we're just in a generation of being coddled, like kids.
What does coddled mean?
Like being
I'll be serious.
baby.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, like being babied,
Like
basically, protecting them from all harm and danger, and you don't show them how to deal with stuff on their own. And the problem with that comes when they grow up and they have this mindset of avoiding things that are opposite of them, opposite perspectives. And Dr. Phil was talking about this, and that's why I brought up Joe Rogan, because he was talking about how people, just by them identifying with the left or the right, even thinking about meeting up with them or having a discussion, cause like a physical hurt within them because they're just so ingrained into that ideology and mindset. And so he did this one exercise or something on his show where he said I just want y'all to like look each other in the eyes or something. He put like the opposites in there and made them stare at each other. And he said, wow, this is actually a human. He said everyone finally realized that despite their differences in beliefs, that they were still human.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
And they were kind of mind blown. It's like, well, that's the most obvious thing, but it's crazy how an ideology can separate that, because you don't see them as the person they are. You see them for
polarizing.
Yeah, just what
beliefs.
They believe in. Yeah, you just see their beliefs. You don't see who they are, and that they're a human with emotions, and all this stuff. So, and he says it stems from that, from not letting kids grow up and experience things on their own. He mentioned that in his time, like back then, he would go to like seminars or teachings or something like that at his university, even if it was from the opposite side. So like whatever belief he had, if the other person had a different belief, it was normal for people to go over there to see what points they could bring up to counter that person, or to learn from the other side so they could make a better argument for themselves. Like, hey, let's go see what this guy has to say. Let's see what he's all about.
See, that's powerful.
And to learn from that. Whereas nowadays, someone enters your campus or your university with a different set of beliefs and you want to run them out. You tell them, no, we should get them out. They're not allowed to speak about this. We don't want them here. So instead of facing their problems and coming to a solution, they're just trying to throw away what they see as a problem. And obviously there's no progress made in that if all you're doing is kicking people off campus, kicking people off universities, firing professors or teachers or people who talk about things that are quote-unquote controversial.
Wow.
And there's no growth in that, because you're not even leaving room for debate. You're not learning from these people. And he says if people just had that mindset of coming together and wanting to work towards a solution, kind of like how back then they would go and like hear these people out, see what they have to say, and then them form a better argument, rather than just saying, I disagree with that, he shouldn't be here, this person stands for this and that, get him out of here.
Screaming at them, making them get on out of here.
And they just so much hatred, so much of that, and that's, you don't come to solutions that way.
That does seem like very opposite of like free speech, I would say. I guess the huge part of it too is to be able to at least listen.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Just at least listen.
At least listen, even if your emotions and everything's boiling up, everything you think they're saying is completely wrong. In your personal opinion, you believe that, right? Just simply allowing yourself to, take that in. And you never know, really.
You don't know. It's about going in there with an open mind, but it's just mind-blowing how you really can't put two opposite beliefs together because, you can see a physical difference in the way they act, the way they start to think, and then they start to use ad hominem techniques and just like attack each other instead of actually addressing the issue.
Or even discussing.
Yeah, or at least discussing it.
Because it's just an argument at that point.
It's just an argument and just, hating each other rather than focusing on the issue. And the thing is, I like how Dr. Phil broke it down, because he was saying how about you start, before you get into a discussion or something, how about you start with everything you both agree on? Because chances are you're going to agree more than you disagree. He started giving examples, like everyone wants to have their kids' protection. Everyone wants to give their kids a better future than what they have. Everyone wants to feel like they're secure and free to be themselves and to live freely or whatever. Everyone wants to be the best country in the world. Everyone wants to live better. Everyone wants a better job, better opportunities and things like that. So he's like, chances are you're going to agree with most of the things, but when you start off by just seeing them as the opposite of you, you never come to those agreements. You don't even know that you don't even think you agree, because you didn't start off on the basis of, hey, this is a fellowship. Hey, we're both on the same terms here, but we have a few disagreements. People usually go into it with like, oh, you're left wing, I'm right wing, you're wrong, man.
We're never gonna be able to coincide.
Yeah, because they just see it as, you're the reason this country's messed up, and the other people say, you're the reason this country's messed up, and they never even start off with what they actually agree with, which is a lot of times they agree with most of the things.
Wow, that's actually a promising exercise to do.
Yeah, starting off like before discussion, argument, like, all right, let's break down what it is that we agree with first. Like, what's things that we agree with? What are things that we want to support? What are things that we want to do? And like break them down, because usually they have certain titles stuck to it that make it seem, oh, well, this movement, this thing right here, this is all left wing stuff, and this kind of belief, this kind of thing is right wing stuff. But when you break it down, to its core function, like, we really only have very few needs and wants.
Yeah.
That at its core we all want. We all want a better future. Like I said, we all want, better job opportunities, security, freedom, things like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone would agree with wanting that.
Yeah.
But I guess we tend to emphasize and focus on what we don't have that person agrees with, right?
Yeah.
So we like to be the opposite, basically, instead of, maybe we are more alike than we think, but coming at it from the point of view as just disagree, or just identifying someone as something, versus even, simply being able to have a conversation before.
Yeah, because you box them in, and then that's all you see them as. And like, for me, I've come across several encounters where, I say I'm vegan, and then it's like people suddenly assume that I'm like some super left-wing person,
right?
Or the first person they bring up as an example is, that vegan teacher.
Oh, man.
And they think,
vegan teacher, why'd you do us like that?
Yeah, no, for real. It's just like, they have all this, and I honestly know more conservative vegans than I do liberal vegans.
Yeah.
But that's despite the point. That just comes to show how the moment people have like a category in mind, they box you and they think, oh, that's this kind of person. It's like, you don't know me. You don't know me.
True.
Like,
they probably think vegan. Oh, picture. Oh, this is the person that comes to my mind
instantly.
Yeah. And if you want like a person to break that, I guess, paradigm, it's Will Brooks. Will Brooks guy. He's a tatted person, completely head to toe.
Yeah.
Massive.
I should go check out our podcast with him.
Check out our podcast with him. He's a person that emphasizes, one thing that I really like that he does is, he's not really out here preaching it. He's more of a lighthouse when it comes to it. Because people are just like, man, how'd you get like that? How'd you do this?
Yeah.
And they're just so surprised because I guess his look of a typical, quote unquote, what a vegan would look like, right?
He breaks that stereotype, yeah.
He completely breaks that, and that could be like one stump where you're just like, whoa, this person is just the opposite of what I expect someone like with that title to be.
Yeah, because he even said he calls himself this, like, that he looks like a bro or something. Like, he looks like a meathead or something.
Yeah.
It's like the complete opposite. And people ask him, like, no, you're not actually vegan. Like, stop. But that same thing, though, when it comes to, like you said, you see the opposite and you instantly think this person. And, oh, this person must have all the same qualities this guy does. It's the same thing with how people see conservatives or Republicans. Oh, Trump characteristics, and instantly put this entire group and say, like, it's like, you don't know this person, like, you don't know what they can do for you, what kind of qualities they have from their own. You just hear the title, associate with the closest person that shares that title, and say, oh yeah, this person's like that, exactly like that. And it's like, that's not how it works. That you don't know him, you don't know her, you don't know how they could be functioning, or the way they speak, or their respect, and all those things that come with an interaction. It's like you're just making an assumption right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think that's where it starts to cause a lot of problems, making that assumption and not really understanding who or what, because they're more than just the topic at hand, right? They're a human, right? Going back to what Dr. Phil said, I guess taking that bit of a moment to realize, whoa, maybe this person's life is as complicated and complex as mine. Maybe that political side is just 1/4 of their entire being. Like, why am I just gonna judge them for the 1/4 instead of the whole 360 person that they are?
Yeah, And that's the issue of it, because during that experience, like he even said, you're not going to say a word to each other, you're just going to look into each other's eyes. So he said we
Whoa.
got this far by just having them look at each other in the eyes, and I think it was like a few minutes or so that he made them just stare at each other in silence. You can't say a word to each other, you just have to make sure you keep eye contact. And by doing that, I mean, you can imagine, some people are probably laughing, giggling, being a little awkward, timid, and it just kind of humanizes
Oh,
them. You
wow.
see, like,
That's so good.
wow, there's a person that I'm looking at. This is a human. And he said every single person, that was their main realization for that day, is that I'm looking at a human despite them having, like, these beliefs.
Wow. So they came to that,
Yeah,
conclusion when they stopped looking at each other?
yeah. When he asked them, like, what'd you learn from this? And the main thing that they took away from that is it's a human. Like, I thought they was just like, I
Wow.
don't know, it was just weird. And even Joe Rogan was kind of mind blowing. He was like, but like, how like every single one of them said that, like, how did they not realize that? He's like, Dr. Phil's like, yeah, they're just so caught up with their beliefs and ideologies that that's what they assume. They just assume that that's all they have to offer, and they don't see the human behind them. So it's messed up.
No, that is. Wow. I'm trying to think of something to add to that specifically, because when it comes to, I think we're kind of hitting on like disagreements and agreements, different beliefs and different beliefs. And I guess the bridge is simply having a conversation. And even, that exercise is quite extreme. I guess that's talk show type exercise. But you
Yeah.
never know. Like, what if you just do that with someone that you've been kind of having a major disagreement with? Where you're just like, hey, let's just do this. I
Yeah.
heard this. It's something different. I wouldn't have ever thought about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely is a different thing. I don't think. Oh, and I guess also leading on to that is that even if it's not an exercise or like you looking at them for like several minutes, just make eye contact, it just comes to show that people are less likely to tell you stuff to your face or cuss you out or just spew pure
Ooh.
hatred when they're right in front of you and you're looking at another human, like,
Mm-hmm.
in their eyes. People tend to act like this. They were giving the examples of they tend to act like this when you're on the road, because you can just skirt right off. You
Oh,
cuss someone out,
man.
you give someone the finger, you start yelling at them, you
Yeah.
assume, oh, I'll never see them again. You dehumanize them at that moment.
Wow.
And you do the same when you're online. All you see is a profile picture and an account, and you say, oh, you're this and that, you look like this, and you start just spewing and just hating on them so
Mm,
hard. But you wouldn't do that if you're in an elevator
they
with them.
wouldn't. They
You
wouldn't.
wouldn't. And so, because there's a human there, you're looking at someone, and it just comes to show that people are so much more comfortable saying and spewing all this hatred when they're
Yeah.
not faced to confront them, when
Face
they're
to
not in their
face.
little bubble of
Yeah.
space. So it's just like, it's hypocritical. Like, don't act like that. Like, align yourself
Mm-hmm.
and think before you just start spewing hate online. Like, that's so childish. You don't solve anything that way, and it's there on a regular basis. Like, you can click on any post,
Oh,
and there's gonna
man.
be someone that's hating on someone
Someone's
else for
always
no
saying
reason.
something for sure.
For no
What
reason.
do you think the difference is? Like, what's the line between, like, constructive criticism versus just, like, someone talking so much?
Constructive criticism is actually trying to help someone, and the other is just trying to break them down and deplatform them and cancel them and
Oh,
hate
that's
on them. It's
true.
just, you don't give people a chance to learn like that, which is crazy, because that same podcast was talking about that, about how we need to set, instead of having and embracing a cancel culture, embrace a
Reform.
counsel culture. So, like,
Ooh,
counsel
I
with them,
like that.
talk with them, and give them a chance to right their wrongs if it actually is a wrong, because most of the time it's just, hey, I don't
Mistake,
agree with
most
that,
likely,
or a
too.
mistake,
That's
yeah, and
true.
it's just take them off. I don't agree with what he's saying, so take them off. That's so anti freedom of speech. That's not what this is. Like, you're not even allowing someone to express themselves. So, whether they said something right or wrong or whatever, at least counsel with them before just spewing hate, saying that you hope their family dies, that you hope that they die and they have
They
died in a horrific
die. Oh,
accident,
my
or
gosh.
get a disease because
Yeah.
you're spewing something that you thought was a belief, and now you have the entire internet coming at you saying that you're all these
All these
things.
things.
And it's such a disgusting attitude to adopt, but it just comes to show how it stems from being over coddled or nurtured in a way where anything that opposes your belief system, that you can just get rid of it. Oh,
Yeah.
something bad happens, like, no, like, it's okay, like, we're gonna handle things for you. And Dr. Phil
Oh, I
said
see.
it's when your family smoothens out every bump for you rather than showing you they can do it yourself, building that self-esteem and confidence. Because a lot of these people that spew all this shit, they're low self-esteem, low confidence, or sometimes egos that haven't been corrected, and it's
Oh
because
man, that's true.
yeah, and it's families that just smoothed out every little bump for them, made their path very easy. And the way by the time they get out into adult life and do their own thing, they're used to having it done this way, of having their problems just dealt with or erased. So they never learn to deal with them. They just learn to get rid of it, ignore, whatever, just cancel out, put the phone down. It's just like it's just ignoring, cold shoulder type attitude, like
Yeah.
very very narcissistic. I'm right, they're wrong, and that's
That's
that.
it.
Like they can get out of here. That's You
Mhm.
don't get progress like that. That's so ignorant to assume.
I'm trying to understand like the mindset of someone to leave, a hate comment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Maybe I have, but I've never been like, oh, die.
Yeah. See, that's extreme.
I think it's just like, what is it? Like I think it definitely has to do with ego, a lot of insecurity,
hmm
but like to sit there and just be there for hours and do that.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to just take a step back and feel for people like that.
Yeah. It's sad because like people look forward to that. I feel like
Do you
look forward to
think
the
it
next
gives
thing
them
they
like a little bit of a rush?
yeah, and especially if you have people liking it up too.
Oh, that's true.
You're like, oh, I got people that agree with me.
Oh,
Whereas if that behavior was straight up ignored, and every time you left a comment that was hateful, you got 0 likes, there'd come a point where you'd stop.
You'd
You
stop.
realize like I have no one supporting this.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
what's the point?
What if it's funny and I have to give it a like to show that it's funny?
I mean, depends if it's straight up bullying or
Okay.
hate. I mean, I don't
That's
know.
true.
Sometimes there are some funny comments. Like they're like, I've
Oh,
seen people
man.
like, it's not too late to delete this or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm like,
See, oh
that can be
man,
funny.
that's funny.
But if it's straight up
Like
hate threats and just trying to cancel someone or put someone off their platform, it's like you need to have good reasons why. You need to be able to talk to someone, and it's so easy to spew hate when that's funny, right?
Oh,
It's so easy to
man.
spew hate when they're not there in your front of your face. So the way I look at it is assume that person's there in front of you. How would you actually speak to them?
Yeah. Right.
Because I've seen respectful comments
Yeah.
that maybe there is like you can feel like this was it kind of crossed the line of hate comment, but at least it's like a well written comment
Yeah.
that says, yeah, I don't like you doing this, is how you should adjust. And that's a major difference from just saying, F off, get off this platform,
Get off,
POS,
cancel.
all this stuff. And you can just see the major difference in it and actually having a discussion. But people aren't willing to have that. That for them is too difficult. They just want to make it easy and say, cancel them, block, report, all this stuff, and that's that. Which obviously there does come a point where sometimes that is the best thing to do. I'm sure there's certain
I was gonna
scenarios.
say, like, what is a scenario?
If someone's just constantly harassing you, I think.
Really?
Yeah, if someone's constantly harassing you, block them. Like,
Oh,
you're not gonna try.
okay.
You're not gonna try and.
I was gonna say, like, what is the line where someone should be deplatformed?
Oh, deplatformed.
Canceled, everything coming at them.
I don't know, man. I
Maybe
still,
when children are involved, I would say.
yeah, okay, that's true. Innocence, but if it's between like, no, I don't know.
Don't
That's
say it,
tough.
bro. Harvey's gonna get canceled.
No,
Just
but there's this. I don't know. I guess it's super specific, right? But
It
to
is.
deplatform someone over saying stuff, like if they're not doing any action, or inciting violence towards a specific group.
Dang, bro. What do you think,
think that's the
Kanye West
difference.
right now? Thoughts and opinions. Harvey's exclusive thoughts and
No,
opinions.
I don't even
Go
know.
ahead,
Much,
bro.
I don't even know much about that situation. All I know is he was making anti-Semitic. What was it? Was it hate?
I think. I honestly don't know much either.
I only saw one thing, and it was that he was saying that most Jews
Yeah.
control a lot of the media and stuff like
The
that,
media, yeah.
and it turned out to be true. So if it's just that,
Controversy already.
that's
but
not that bad.
It's not that bad
Like,
because it's the truth, right?
That's all he's saying. But if he added something more to that and said they're doing this, therefore I hate them, then I can see where it crosses the line. But from what I heard, he was saying about how they own that.
Yeah.
and they
Now he's no
actually-
longer a billionaire, guys. So that's a perfect example of making sure
Yeah.
you're saying the right things, right?
Nah.
Nah, what do you think,
I
bro?
disagree.
Was he saying right things then?
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know, but if you're walking on eggshells constantly just to save face and you don't actually speak your truth,
that's very true.
I feel like you're a shell of a man, a shell of a person.
What if he says, "Oh, I'm saying the truth," then?
But how's he know? Like, where's the debate? Where's he? Like, I'm sure he'd be open to having like a
discussion about.
Yeah, I mean that's why he's speaking it on television. Like, he's on public news outlets, ready for people to basically come at him.
That's true.
And it's like, okay, who's gonna correct him? Who's gonna prove him otherwise? Who's gonna say something else, rather than just saying, "Oh, he said that. Yeah, that's it. You're done."
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's a way to live. Like, for me, I can easily say, I believe animal cruelty is wrong. That's why I'm vegan. And if someone says, well, what are you saying? You think I support animal cruelty because I'm not vegan? I'd say yes. All right, let's talk about it.
Ooh.
So that's
I'll take everybody.
No, like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, people can talk about it and people are going to cancel. Like, oh, this guy thinks he's morally superior. I'm like, I don't think I'm morally superior because I want you to join in on this. This isn't something that's morally superior. If it was morally superior, I'd want to say at that point. And obviously that can go into so many other tangents, but the point is that I have a belief, right? I put it out there. If someone disagrees, let's talk about it.
Talk about it. Willingness. I think that goes back to one thing we had mentioned in a previous podcast, which is, having weight to your argument and being able to back it up, or being able to back your beliefs up.
Yeah.
But it's also like, that starts the whole thing too, though.
It does, because some people's beliefs are skewed. I mean, you have like the QAnon, and you have like you have people that are just have high levels of cognitive dissonance. And at that point, it's just still having the patience to debate and talk. And I don't know if it's okay to say that some people are just too far in, too lost in the rabbit hole. I wouldn't assume that for everyone, but sometimes there's a point where you can tell this person just doesn't want change. Like, you can try your best, but there comes a point where, I mean, they have to want that change for themselves to shift that perspective that they have. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you have such a toxic perspective like that, you're the one that's going to suffer from it. I think perspectives are like the belief or perspective that you follow is meant to be net benefit. It shouldn't be to like see everything in such a negative light, and it ultimately destroys relationships and friendships and just whatever else you have going on. Relationships in general. But I think that's how you can kind of determine, is this a net benefit belief, or is this like something negative that's destroying things? And
like, oh man, you're the one that's too much in, man. You don't understand. I've done the research.
See, and I was literally just about to say, it's funny you say that, because I was about to say there's some beliefs where, because you believe it that way, you view everyone else as lesser than you. And that's where it can get toxic, because you're like, I know the truth. I know more than you. I know all these things, and like, it's going to take you a while to wake up. You might never wake up, but it's okay, because I'm on this path and I'm following the truth. And these people that are, like, self-proclaimed truth seekers, or they're on this path of like enlightenment in some topic, they think they know all there is to know about that, and they see everyone else below them as just sheep. They see them as just that they haven't woken up yet. It's like that destroys relationships, because if you can't bring your point across in a way that's easy to understand, and you just knock it right there off as saying, well, you're just not going to understand, like, you can't even back up your own point, like your point. And this goes to another episode we talked about, where if you can't back up your own point, if you just tell people that, well, you're just not going to understand, this is my belief, this isn't for everyone, this lifestyle isn't for everyone, you can stay living here, doing the same things you're doing, and just cutting it off at that, instead of trying to help other people understand your point isn't standing up to scrutiny, your point isn't standing up to criticism. So you shelter that belief, and you lack probably the vocabulary, education to even get it across. And most of the time it might even be like a false belief that you just developed yourself.
Wow.
But I don't know, it's things like that where you should be open to having your belief challenged and open to having it discussed, because that's how you know that it's going to stand up to scrutiny. That's how you know it's a valid belief. So it should be you being open to saying it, like, yeah, I'm confident in this belief. I'm not at 100% about it, but this is what's been working out for me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, what do you think about that? I think it boils down to that. That's a really good question. Being able to just simply ask that and just not take what you believe as what it is.
Yeah.
And I guess questioning where you got those beliefs too is a major thing, instead of just like inheriting them from family, friends, this or that.
Yeah.
You know, understanding like, okay, it can be an influence, but understand the deeper root of it. Does it really resonate with who you are?
Yeah. And it's that, but it's also kind of, people take it personally when you start to challenge them, and I think that's why it's difficult, because they identify with it so much.
Yeah.
So like, for example, me and veganism are kind of just shaking hands, you know, because there's some things that are associated with that word and with that movement that I don't want to be a part of. I mean, we've seen the videos that just paint us in a bad light.
Why would they do that?
And it's like, okay, I guess technically I'm not gonna guy that gets into semantics and says, oh well, I'm not vegan, I'm just plant based. Oh, I'm not plant based, I'm just a leaf eater. I'm not leaf, I'm a herbivore. You know, and you can have so many different titles to represent a belief. And some people's like, yeah, well, I just don't even like saying what I am because, you know, it's usually associated. It's like any word that you pick, even if you say that, you're still associated with something. It's still who you are. So just get the best word that fits it, choose it. But, you know, to identify with it so strongly to where it's your core, and that's all you have to offer is just that one thing. It's like, how can you hold on something so 100%? Like, that is what causes arguments. That's what causes, you know, broken relationships, because you're clinging on something so 100% that you're not even willing to hear out the other side.
Yeah.
I think that's 100%. And obviously there's some things where every movement has a purpose, right? I'm assuming here that certain movements have good intentions behind them, right? Some didn't stick around, but some movements have, you know, like what was it? Women's suffrage, you know, women's rights, gay rights, you know, all these movements that came out. It's like they have good intentions and they get adopted, and nowadays you don't applaud someone for not being racist, right?
Yeah.
You don't applaud that. Just how I wouldn't want to be applauded for being vegan. That to me is like what should be normal. Like,
Yeah.
Why should I get applauded, or why should I think I'm really superior for not hurting an animal?
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't deserve any praise, just as much as it doesn't deserve praise for someone not killing, you know, a dog. Like, oh, you didn't kill that dog. Wow, you're so amazing. Like that to me just doesn't make sense.
That's true.
So it's like, it's these titles that you're given and these things that you cling on to so hard that you just, this is all you stand for. Like, you're a 100% this, and you're against whatever is just opposite of that.
Yeah, I feel like one like example in real life to tie in with that is, I guess I remember when we would work at a gym, there's this guy, and I think you were the one that talked to him first and, like, you know, showed him videos about like plant-based, vegan, and like documentaries. And then one day, or he was like a hunter though too, right? He would hunt.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the thing is, he was open and willing to have that conversation, and I guess you can kind of go from there too, right? Because what did he say to you specifically?
He was like, yeah, man, I'm just kind of mind blown because, you know, I hunt and stuff like that. I forgot exactly what he said, but long story short, he said that he was, you know, changing his diet to eat more plant-based and shift it in that direction.
And one thing too, I'll add to that, I don't mean to cut you off, is I remember we would be there and he would talk to us about hunting, and his point of view was, you know, seeing hunting as a sport, right? I guess it's considered a sport, and I was just mind blown by the fact that, you know, I guess this could be considered a sport.
Yeah.
And him describing like the little nuances about it, as if we were to talk to someone that, you know, doesn't know what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
You know, and him, I remember one main thing he said, even to another person that was next to him that would hunt, which was Ben. Right? Ben.
I remember this.
And he like defended. Oh, Ben said something about, like, you know, I think tofu or something, and the guy corrected him saying,
soy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, it's soy, saying, oh, you know, actually, you know, I don't think that's right. You know, but it's funny to see that.
Yeah, it was an interesting interaction.
Hunter defended him. Like, we didn't even say anything.
Yeah, we didn't. We were part of that conversation, and then, you know, this person said, "Oh, soy decreased your testosterone levels," and the guy that was actually, you know, a hunter meat eater defended that point for. Like, we didn't have to step in and say, actually, that's not true. He was like, actually, it's phytoestrogen, and it binds to the estrogen receptor, so it actually blocks actual estrogen from getting in.
Wow.
And I was like, this guy really just broke that down.
That's awesome.
For him and corrected him, because people are more receptive to someone within their circle. So like these two meat eaters, hunters, if he's hearing that fact spoken from a hunter to him, he's gonna be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. But if one of us were to say it, like, oh,
No.
of course the vegans
Well,
are telling us that,
yeah.
like, dude, stop, like,
Exactly.
stop trying to be like right.
Oh,
But he only accepted
very
it
true.
because it was from his own circle.
From his own circle.
Because I know if we would have said something, he would have rebutted and
just-
been like, nah, man, I bet you I can find all this stuff that says otherwise. Just no.
And even after, like, even that was in the midst of the conversation. Even after he's like, man, you know what? I didn't expect you two guys to just be open and, you know, asking questions and being interested. Like,
Yeah,
like I think he just took away. We probably shifted our perspective in him of what a certain type of vegan person's supposed to be.
yeah, because we're talking about like guns, hunting,
Yeah.
you know, like you know, just a lot of like just southern country
Yeah,
things
exactly.
basically, and it was just like he didn't expect us to be so like in the part of the discussion.
Yeah,
basically.
or even ask questions about it. Like, I'm assuming right here, right now, but he probably just thought, oh, you know, I don't want to be part of this conversation. This,
Yeah.
you know. But instead, we were open.
It was like
to
learning.
It. Yeah, it was
'Cause I
learning.
mean, I for
was
one didn't
learning
know
for
like
sure.
how points worked on like the deer
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like, I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah,
Like,
no, for
you count
sure.
the
And the
thing
process, like, oh man, it was insane. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely did learn something.
and the
but
type of guns too you're supposed to use. I'm like, okay, well that's interesting. I didn't know that. Now would I do that? Do I agree with that? No. But
But, you know, now I know.
I learned something. I
And I
learned
was
how it's
open-
done now. You
Open
know?
to listening.
Yeah, and that's he blew his mind. Yeah, because by the end of the
Yeah.
conversation, he said, "Man, I thought y'all were gonna like be offended or say something."
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, I mean it's a conversation, and that's how you plant a seed in people's mind that
Yeah.
not everyone's who you think they are. You
Breaking
know?
the stereotype when it comes to stuff like that, and that could be with anything, you know. If a certain, you know, group you identify yourself with is, you know, a certain way, and then they meet you, you're like, whoa, you know, you're nothing like I expected this person to be. You know,
Yeah,
I guess that's a good thing too, I would say.
no, it is because you're showing that you're human. You're not just a part of a group, and you share everything that they
and
have.
that ties it back too, because that's true.
Yeah.
We are just human at the end of the day.
Yeah, you
But when it
can have
comes to
your own.
certain things too,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to have a conversation and just go against those ideologies that you have, that you're raised.
Mm-hmm.
And it just boils down to that, right? What would you say?
No, it does. I think that's a good way to wrap it up because we just have to see the humanity in ourselves instead of going against an idea and just targeting that. Realize that you're also speaking to a human behind that idea, and
A human behind that idea.
yeah, and discuss with them. Talk to them like they're, I mean, a human. You're not
Yeah.
just, you know, because you can, you know, shit on an idea all you want, but you know, it's not just the idea. You know, people tend to attack this group or certain people, and it's you got to discuss it with them. You know, at the end of the day, we all want the same things, so you know, why not just be open to having a conversation about it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that's a
That's
good
it.
point, guys. So we appreciate you, Harvey.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Peace.